up? You've tuned into the 𝗦𝗽cie Brant Show, and I am 𝗦𝗽cie, your host, and I'm super excited about my guest today. I can't wait to share her with you. This may give you an idea who it might be, because there's only so many people in the world that have these Olympia titles or Olympia medals, and of course, so I had to wear it today just to, from Olympia champion to Olympia champion, having some fun. This gal has a lot of fun. She's got a great personality. You're going to love her. If you don't know who she is already, she is an elite athlete from college all the way to present. She's an entrepreneur. Her and her husband have multiple business within a clothing line. They own a gym. They even have a supplement line. She's been on American Ninja Warrior. She is, like I said, a collegiate soccer player. She's done some powerlifting. She was on American Ninja Warrior. What has this girl done that, what has she not done? She won the Olympia in 2013, and she is now going into barrel racing. So we have a lot to talk about today on the 𝗦𝗽cie Brant Show. So Claudia, please bring in Dana Linn Bailey, DLB.
Oh, romantic. I didn't know. You should have told me. I didn't know you were wearing it.
Oh, I know. We just walk around with these things on our necks, don't we? It's actually part of our workouts.
Yes, like for neck raises.
So come on, you wear this every day,
all the time,
just to have some memories of it, right?
Yes.
Is yours heavy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very heavy.
I haven't felt it. Is it this thick?
Oh no, yours looks thicker. Oh, they cheated me.
Ah, they did. And does it have it on the back, on the what you want?
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah, back.
Yes.
Yes.
So cool. So cool. So you were the first Physique Olympia champion.
Yeah.
Okay, back to normal here. That is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's talk about you. I mean, that's why we have you on. I want to hear all of the good stuff. So, I have obviously been in this industry since 1991, and there's so many new people in, and it's always fun for me to get to hear, when people got in the industry, what they did with their time in the industry, and then what they're doing after, not after, but I know there's always kind of like the afterlife of the competitor part of it, right? And there's, you either take that and roll and into something new, or people just kind of get stuck in that space and never really use it for anything special. Yeah. So let's go back, because I know your history is broad, and I'd love to know more about you growing up and, how you became who you are today.
Yeah. So I've been an athlete my entire life. 6 sports at one point in time. So anything that sort of like opened up, my parents, even if I didn't want to play, like I didn't really want to play softball because it looked boring to me. And they would just kind of like sign me up. We're like, well, we already signed you up. So I was swimming on the swim team at age 5. I ran track, softball, field hockey, basketball, soccer. Yeah, a lot of times just I would go to school, go to my school sport, whatever I was in. And then I played on a traveling soccer team that played year round. Soccer was my favorite. Okay. I played on a traveling basketball team. I would swim winter and summer. So it was constantly just like, I was in shape all the time. But it's weird thinking back, being an athlete, which is where I kind of go into like why I got into bodybuilding and whatnot, but I was never comfortable in my own skin. Like obviously not out of shape, always in shape, but like I remember like hating my body growing up, like, and not appreciating what it was like capable of doing, not being like, wow, I'm really good at every single sport I did. I excelled at, like always, and not taking that into any aspect. All I cared about was like the physical, and like I had big soccer legs. So like I would not wear pants, or I would not wear shorts unless I was playing a game. I would wear jeans. It'd be 100 degrees outside. I'm wearing jeans because hated them. I was very uncomfortable with my chest. I was just like the typical like awkward, I don't feel right. Went on, I got recruited to play soccer for Westchester University. So I played all 4 years there, which is where I met Rob, my husband, and didn't get into the gym until soccer was over, because that took up so much time. And we basically would just go to class, then you go to practice after work or after class, and then you pretty much have to go back, party or do homework. I usually partied. I was definitely a little party animal. I don't know how I got by, but I did get into the gym. And this is also a time, I know you were already in there, because when I got into fitness, you were like one of the first people. You were like the Jamie Easton, the Monica Brant era that I was like, oh my gosh, these girls are hot. Like I remember following you when I first got into the gym. And the whole reason of me going to the gym is because I just didn't see him. He worked at a restaurant and worked really long hours. So I didn't get to see him till like 11 p.m. when he would get off. And I would just sit in the bathroom and he'd shower and then we go to bed. That was pretty much it. So there was like a 2-block window between his like prep shift, like school prep shift. And then he had a 2-hour block and then night shift. And he would go to the gym. So he's like, well, if you want to hang out, you just come to the gym. So came to the gym. I was like, okay, what do we do? So I benched and I just pretty much like followed exactly what he did. And at that time, he was training very much like a bodybuilder. It was a very bodybuilder gym. Do you remember Brian Chamberlain?
I remember yes.
Yeah. So it was Brian Chamberlain's gym. Yeah. So he was the older IFBB pro bodybuilder. And it was his gym. So it was, looking back, it was like literally the sickest gym to ever like start training in ever. Just packed with like big people.
Yeah. And you had no idea really where you were, what you're doing. And
no. Yeah. And so this is probably like 2004 or 5. And I feel like it was like a weird era where I went to like the coolest gym. And luckily I was sort of like, I've always been a jock. So I always got along really well with guys. I was used to like, hey, like Saturdays I would go play pickup with the guys down the street in high school. Like that was normal for me. So going to a gym where there were no girls lifting whatsoever. If they were there, they were on the ellipticals or running on a treadmill. And I was like pretty much the only girl back there. And I just pretty much followed exactly what he did. And here we are many, many years later. I instantly was addicted to it. Yeah.
How was he with coaching you back in those days? Was he patient? Because sometimes when guys are like training and they just want to focus training and they don't want to have to stop and educate or teach or something, and it's like, was he patient or was he just
definitely a fast learner? I don't think he could do it now. He doesn't have the patience anymore. But back then, like we were still like newly dating. So this was probably, I think it was just like a cool moment. Like he had all the knowledge pretty much. I mean, I had basic skills like in high school. We took strength and conditioning, but I tried not to sweat. So I didn't, because I always had it first block for some reason. So I get on the leg extension and just move my legs. So, but I had like a basic understanding of like different movements, but like putting stuff together or doing like a bodybuilding split. Like I knew like upper body day, lower body day. That was pretty much it. But he kind of just taught me how he was taught, and he was training at that time like with some professional bodybuilders, and so he was doing like 4 reps. Like
go right into it.
Like putting more weight than, because that's what the guys used to do to him. So he would be training and like he wasn't as strong as them. And they would be like, well, put 315 on incline. He's like, I can't do incline. He's like, just get under it. We'll spot you. So he was like, I got comfortable with being under heavy weight. So when I finally got there by myself, it wasn't scary because, okay, we'll put 135 on the bar. Could I do it? No, but he would just have his hands and spot me through, to the point when I finally got 135, it wasn't scary because it's like, I've been under this weight so many times and he's still there spotting me in case I can't get it. So it wasn't like a scary thing. Yeah. And everything was for me like a competition, because like my soccer career was over. or ended, I needed like that. I'm super competitive. That's all I know. So not having competition in my life it's hard for me because I'll try to find anything like, oh, I started riding horses. I'm going straight into barrel racing. Like I can't just do something without trying to like compete or be the best in it. So yeah, the lifting part was like just seeing how much I could lift or how many, like I remember I could only do like 1 or 2 pull-ups. So every day it was something I wanted to do. I started with pull-ups until finally I was like 10, 15, like everything just went up because I'm competitive with myself. And I got into competing because there was 2 girls that were, I guess, doing a show. And I just remember them just complaining about everything, like always carrying like a gallon of water and like food with them. And like, oh, I have to do 3 hours of cardio today. And just constantly complaining. I was like, I look better than them. I'll do the show. So I signed up for a show. Never even been to one, never seen one. I had no clue what I was doing. Bought so this is when we had the 2 round, like the 1-piece velour 1-piece and the 2-piece. And I did my first show.
And that was figure.
Yeah, figure. Physique didn't exist. Bikini didn't exist. It was fitness, figure, and bodybuilding. So I did figure. And I remember getting up there and they told us, they're like, I knew quarter turns. So I got a little information from Brian in trade for Rob doing some graphic design work. He helped me with like a basic diet. So I went from eating like SpaghettiOs to like chicken. So that helped. And then and his girlfriend like helped me with posing. But no one told me like, oh, so we get up there and they're like, okay, you're going to come out and do your model turn. I was like, model turn? What's a model turn? What's a model turn? So luckily there were some nice girls in line. She's like, oh yeah, just put one hand on your hip and do this little thing. But, yeah, I did the show. I got like 6th place. They actually marked me down because I had abs and I made like, this is like so long ago, you know.
They didn't know what to do with you.
They're like, yeah, you have too much going on. like my legs looked terrible, but from my upper body up was like super hard. And I had some good delts. The tiny arms, but good delts and just abs. And they're like, oh, you're too much.
You just see
girls.
I know, right?
But yeah, I did the first show and then honestly kind of got addicted to that. Like it then gave me a purpose of training because like, oh, now this thing that I love doing and I love lifting, now I can compete in it. And it was just another way of getting into like competition. So then it just spiraled from there and kept competing in figure. Never did very well. I would do well on a local level, but as soon as I got to nationals, they were like, no, you're too big, you're too hard, you're too muscular, you're too all this. And I was like, I think I look great. So yeah, 2000, and you know, the sport's it's an expensive sport to just kind of go in there and just lose. But this was, I started following fitness. That's when I like got into you and like Jamie Eason. I was like, I want to do what they're doing. Like I want to be on like covers of magazines. I want to be featured in magazines. So at one point in time, I was like, do I train differently so I do better? Because at that time, to get sponsored for supplement lines and stuff, like you had to compete. Like it's not like it is nowadays where like, oh, you just become Insta famous and as long as you have followers. Like back then, like you had to be, and the most popular was IFBB. So I was like, I have to get there. So I never really changed my ways. And honestly, I kind of gave up on that whole thing because I went to Junior USA's 2010 or 11, and they called me out dead last. And I didn't care because in my head, if they were calling me out last, that meant I looked the best, in my opinion, because I was bigger, I had muscles. And I was like, you know what, maybe that thing's not for me, but I enjoy the way I looked. We had started a YouTube channel at that point when YouTube was way new. And I was starting to get a following for the way I trained and also for the way I looked, because I looked much different than everybody else. Started a YouTube channel. We had just started Flagner Fail probably at that time. We started Flagner Fail, which is our clothing line, out of our garage. Just like something Rob has always wanted to do for his entire life. Is he sewed in high school. He used to sew his own tux. He used to sew his own clothes. Yeah, he's a very, very talented person in all aspects. And we started a company before that, just printing shirts for fun. We would go to car shows and whatnot and sell shirts. And he wanted to do it like full time. So we started it very small, started a YouTube channel. And in turn, we thought like, okay, let's build each other up. We wanted to build ourselves up so we could bring light to this clothing line. So started the YouTube channel. Competing wasn't going as well as I thought until finally they came out with this new division called Physique. And everything they said, they were like, it's figure with a little bit more muscle, a little bit more conditioning, a little bit this, a little bit, pretty much everything they told me. I was like, oh my God,
that's me.
Oh my God, they made this for me. Like they literally made a division for me. So I told them, I was like, whatever show it is, whatever the first one is, I'm doing it. So it was Junior USA's down in Charleston, South Carolina, 2011. And we drove down there and we had no money. We're all broke. We're all poor. So we stole Rob's brother's work minivan, drove down there. I was eating like cold tilapia and asparagus. Like I can never eat a tilapia ever again, just from that last show. Yeah, because they were surviving on Snickers bars, and I had to eat like cold fish. It was horrible. So went down there.
I can imagine. Like I will never eat that fish ever. Yeah, no.
Never again. Ever. I just thinking about it is like a dry heat right now. Just ugh. And like gelatinous, like it had like the gelatinous on it. Oh, and I was eating it because I would literally do anything. So I went down there, did the show, and somehow became the first pro ever in history for women's physique. So it sparked like that whole thing. It's like, oh, I can do this. Like I actually it's almost like they made the division for me and for girls like me, because there was such like that huge gap between figure and bodybuilding, and I didn't want to look like a bodybuilder, and I didn't fit into figure, and there's like just that huge gap, and they finally like fixed it, and with women's physique, and somehow became the first pro ever.
That's awesome. What a great memory and story, and just that was just taking the industry into a new era, a new opportunity, like I said, for other women like you. That was great. So how did you learn to do or who worked with you learning to do the posing for physique? Because I know there's obviously a little more posing for that than the figure.
Well, the good thing is I love posing. Back then, like I didn't have a coach. I didn't have anyone doing my diet. So that's like the first thing I tell people is like, they always just want to hop on, like go get a coach right away. It's like, honestly, the best thing I ever did for myself is because we didn't have any money. I couldn't afford to pay a coach. So I did all my own research. This is back when like bodybuilding.com, you could just go on there and I would just read articles after articles on like dieting. And sometimes it was hit or miss. And finally so I went pro all by myself, my own diet. Could I have looked better? Yes, probably. I still do all my own training, and I didn't get a coach until my first pro show. I had help from Jose Raymond at the time because he was my friend. So he helped me with like just tailor in a diet a little bit more. Still kind of did my own training. I would go to him, but like posing again, it was the posing's so different now. Like they had like their standard, like their front pose was like a cross-legged, and yeah. But I watched Kai Green pose like billions and billions of times. Like I don't know. Posing came so natural for me.
Well, you know your body so well too, and I think that helps being an athlete and knowing your body well and how to move it for athletics.
Yeah,
it does help going into that. And then, so obviously, you overcame what you, as a child, were not happy about with your legs and what you said you weren't comfortable in your skin, but you started overcoming all of that. Was Rob a big part of that, you think?
very.
Yeah, because he probably saw you and he probably just thought you looked great.
Yeah.
And he was like, wow, you look great. Just come in and come to the gym and then start training. Like, he probably never even considered anything that you considered, right? Like,
no, and I don't think he even really knew that side. Like,
start twerking like Miley. Twerking like Miley.
Again. Okay, so my thoughts are, when I was in middle school and middle school, mostly junior high, I remember the boys always teased me about my thighs. They called me linebacker legs and thunder thighs, and I always had big quads and very muscular legs, much like you talked about yourself. And so thinking about that, I remember thinking at the time, I didn't think that those were nice comments. However, I was a very good athlete too. And I didn't have a self-conscious about it, but I always wondered why they, like, was that a negative thing, right? So as you were getting into your competitive physique and figure and all of that, through that whole competitive stage on the stage for you, did your idea of your body change as far as how you thought about yourself? And
yeah, it's been like I wouldn't say it's always been steady. It's weird. Again, like growing up, I lacked a lot of self-confidence within my body. And then when I found the gym, I started like seeing muscles grow, and I started seeing like delts form and my legs form different, and like started falling in love with my body. I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like if I train these a little bit harder, like they grow. And then my confidence got better. I loved it. And I liked being strong. I liked looking a little bit different. And then I got into competing. And after a show, obviously, what do? You go ask judges what they think about you. And being told that, like, oh, well, you should go get your breast augmentation. Like, we mark you down for being a little bit more masculine because you don't have like, basically telling me that you need to get a boob job for you to look like a girl. So obviously that's hard, coming from many years of being very, very self-conscious about my chest. And I remember just like stuffing bras, and like it's always something I sort of struggled with. So then that came back and I was like, and then the help of Rob saying like, no, like, do you want boobs? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'll be out of the gym. Like, luckily I liked, not luckily, but, and I don't have anything against it. It was just, I didn't personally want them. So as soon as you start making a decision based on someone else's opinion about you, you sort of lost yourself. And deep down, like, I didn't really want them. And I think, like, if it's something someone wants to do and it's going to make them feel better and feel more confident, yes, do it. It's your body. Do whatever you want. And he knew I didn't really want them. I was like, I kind of really like to bench, and I don't know if that's like a thing.
Is that going to affect me? Yeah.
Is that going to affect my bench? Like, that's what I cared about more for some reason. So I had him in the back of my head saying like, no, like, you're perfect the way you are. So it was like getting that positive reinforcement. Like, it's nice to have someone in your corner. I know not everyone has someone that sits there and tells them like, no, I like you exactly how you are. Like, don't change.
Mhm.
So that, and then also the internet was really weird. Like throwing yourself like MySpace existed, but it wasn't like Instagram and Facebook was. So,
Right. Right.
and even YouTube. So getting that negative impact from not only were my friends and family kind of like weird that I was getting into lifting, and they're like, aren't you afraid you're going to look like a boy? Like your arms are getting big. Are you doing steroids? And then I'm having complete strangers that I don't even know tell me like, oh, you're ugly. You look like a man. Where are your boobs? And so it's always been like this weird, like, oh, I feel great. And then something that like, then you get this. And then I have to build back up. And then I feel great again. And then it's like, haha, my family thinks I look ugly. So it's like something that I'm always working on, like even to this day. But again, I think without his help and his constant, like, no, like people like you for who you are. They like you for, and why does Joe from Massachusetts matter? Why does his opinion matter about how you look? Do you feel good? Like, and that's what I finally like started getting into, like, okay, no, like, why do I care? And then after being told you look like a man and you're ugly so many times, it starts like, and you can say anything to me, it sort of just like bounces off. Like I've become very, very numb to any kind of negativity in my life, because it's like, no, wait, first of all, you're on my page looking at me, and I'm not on your page. So it's something that he's also said. It's like you have like power. If you have the ability to, obviously you want positive things to happen, but like if you have the ability to like change somebody's, like just make them react, have a reaction. Like I don't want to live my life without people reacting to me. Do I want positive reactions? Yes. Is negative reactions fine? Whatever. But like that's like a powerful thing that you possess. And I was like, yeah, that's right. They're in my page. But and now it's just like, it's comical because I am very proud that I've gotten this far and I've stayed true to myself. I never changed myself. I didn't change my training. I didn't go get surgeries to get better placing. And I think all of those decisions that I've made that were mine is why I'm here. And it's why I'm talking to you, which is really, really cool because like, well, no, that's you were someone I looked up to when I just started getting into fitness. And it's nice how it all comes back like full circle. I think it's amazing.
Well, I thank you so much for that compliment and just sharing that. It's always nice to hear those things. And, you know, I have loved this industry for a long time, but I still get those things that you're talking about because, you know, even for someone like me, I still get those negative comments. And I know that I remember I used to get them in the magazines, you know, and you'd be all excited, you know, to open up and see the, you know, the things written about the shows or articles or whatever. And well, the articles, not so much, but the articles about the shows. And then you get those negative things from the industry. And it was like, oh, and that was before the internet, right? So now it's like the internet, but I get it. Like I could, you know, like when I went and looked at Jay Cutler's LA Fit Expo deal and I was on there and I saw a lot of great, nice comments from fans. And then I saw a lot of negative ones. And I'm like, why do people even have to be like, why do they even have to say anything rude? And I'm like, there's no reason to just be mean, but people just are. And I think it's just how we, you know, we always have to be that duck with the oil on our feather and let it just rolls off like the water rolls off the duck feather with the oil, right? And it's like, but you know, sadly, our mental it takes in that negative and holds that sometimes easier than the positive. But you know, it is important to let it go and not to hold on to those things. And it's so nice that Rob's in your life because it appears that you two have just blended so well and have not just made a great business for yourselves, but really it seems like you do a lot for other people and you encourage other people and you give people hope. and hope as even just a couple, because even right now, with where marriage is in the world, right? Like just that alone for people to see that you guys are, building this together, that you do things together, that you obviously love one another, you like one another, and it shows. It shows in your posts. It shows in when I got to spend that few minutes with you guys at the LA Fit Expo, and it was like you could just feel it.
Yeah.
And it's so important that people have that inspiration, not just about their fitness and their goals and, excited, but really, I think that's one of the big, beautiful things about you two is that you really are a blessing for the sacred marriage covenant.
Yeah. I can't say it was easy. Like,
oh no,
like, especially because we don't have normal lives. Like we were in the spotlight, and there was, especially like on the come up of like, we were both trying to build this thing together. Luckily, like, we're both on the same page. Just like, no, we're building this. So however it happens, like however we get there, like that's just, and it's a lot of what he had to deal with is like, I gained like a ton of popularity, and like maybe he didn't. So like having to deal with that, and like I feel like that would be hard. Like I have 2 million followers and he can't like get any more. Like it's just, I don't know. We have a different life that I think have different struggles. Like having a business together, that's hard, because when we go out to dinner or when we go on vacations, like it's hard to separate work from like married life, because everything we do is connected. So it's just like when we go out to dinner, it's like most of the time we have to just remind ourselves like, hey, how are you today? Like just actually, how are you? Like
the standard questions.
Yeah.
Sometimes
we just go straight into like business mode. Like this is not going good. We need to be doing this better. It just goes straight into business talk. And like, we're finally at a point in our lives. Just, it took a while to get here, but like actively communicating like how we're feeling, asking each other like, hey, how's it going? Is there something I could be doing better? Is there something you can be doing better? And like, because before it was just grind, like hustle and grind till we finally have our feet under us. And now it's like, okay, now let's go on a vacation. Like, because we didn't do like we traveled the world, but it was like going to shows and expos, and you go to your hotel room and you're just tired and you want to go to bed, and like going out to, you're just like, yeah. So we didn't really like, I've traveled to so many cool places, but didn't actually experience them. So now we're trying to like experience stuff and enjoy ourselves a lot more. And a lot of that had to do with me stepping away from stage so that we can enjoy our lives now, because for me to compete, like it's not an enjoyable process for anybody, me, him, anybody around us. Like it's just my whole life revolves around it. And he's the one that actually kind of like, hey, why don't you take a break? Because I had at that point in time had been competing for maybe 11 years straight. And as an amateur, I was doing like 4 shows a year until I finally went pro, and I was only doing like 1 or 2 shows a year, which is a little bit easier or harder. I don't know. It's all the same to me.
Your life still revolves, because you don't just take time off. You take time off of stage, but you're still training and eating, and because that's where all the it's all gained in that time, right? Like you win or lose because of that time in between.
And I always tell girls,
win or lose the momentum.
Oh yes, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I tell people all the time, it's I needed a more or less a mental break, because competing for that long, it starts to kind of change you. It changes the way you think about food. It changes the way you think about training. And I was turning into a robot, like literally a robot, like eat, sleep, train, like, like, and like we would, even in an off season, I would be in an off season I'd go out to dinner with Rob, and like I would eat whatever I wanted, I have dessert, and I would instantly feel like guilty. It's like, why did I eat that? Because even though I'm very conscious, like, okay, what you look on stage isn't what you can look like all year round. Like I knew that, but I would still be like, oh, should I do cardio when we get home, or should we just go to bed? Like I needed a break. Like, yeah, it's a lot to take in. And for any girl that's like, I get a lot of questions like, hey, I want to do a show. And a lot of people come to me that already come from sort of like mental issue, like eating disorder issues. It's like, you should not do a show because you might not have an eating disorder now. You become a competitor and you are going to possibly have one after. Like it changes a lot. And I got out of robot mode, and the plan was just to like take a year off, and that year felt great, and then the years just started to keep going. And then here we are 7 years later, not competing.
Okay, so Dana, we've got to probably wrap this up because I think you and I could probably just keep on rolling and talking about all these things, and we'll get back to horses, and then So just real quick, put it out there where how people can get hold of you one more time, and any closing statements for our viewers, or any motivational tips that you want to share for somebody that maybe you didn't get to yet.
I love it.
So, I want to emphasize.
Yeah, I think the easiest thing is I'm most prevalent on Instagram. So Dana Linn Bailey, pretty much everything is Dana Linn Bailey, YouTube, Facebook. My thing I'm most proud of and what I'm focusing on is DLB Daily. So for anyone that is beginner to advanced, just take some of the guessing work out, take having to even think about what to train in the gym, and let me do it. DLBDailyApp.com. And yeah, let's make muscles together. I love it.
I like that. That's fun. All right, girl. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It in person. I just can't wait to see you out there riding and running and making those barrels.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dana. All right, guys. All right, we'll talk to you soon. All right, guys. So thanks so much for joining here on the Monica Brant Show and getting to hear all about Dana Linn Bailey. That was really a very special show for me to get to hear. In this industry, we end up kind of getting to know in quotes who people are, but not really knowing who they are. So it's really fun for me on this show to get to interview these people and these celebrities, different people of all walks and ages and lifestyles. And I've just really enjoyed my time here learning wonderful people like Dana Linn Bailey. So I'm going to be following her, and I'm sure you already are too. Thank you for subscribing, liking, sharing, and leave comment below. And I'm happy to get back to you. If there's anyone else that you guys would like to see here on the Monica Brant Show, don't hesitate to drop a line and let us know. So for now, stay fit, love life. We'll see you on the next show.